our prep call, you said that InnerSource Commons was the first project or community where you did open source properly. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, what you meant by that?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting kind of virtuous cycle of open source and inner source. Um, so yeah, I was talking about how open source led the TV and the web teams to inner source, and yeah, inner source has now led me back to open source and I think improved the way we interact with open source. So and actually this ties nicely to conferences. So me and my manager David were presenting at OSCon 2019, so the year after the first time we went. Um, we were presenting this journey of open source to inner source, and Russ Rutledge, who is now the executive director of the InnerSource Commons, at the time he was very much involved in the InnerSource Commons, but not in a leadership role. He came and spoke to us afterwards and said, "Oh, come and speak at our conference in a couple of months." And David actually couldn't make that conference. That was my first solo conference talk, which was quite scary. Kind of flying out to Baltimore on my own to deliver this talk to industry experts in inner source. But that doing that conference talk was my into the inner source commons, and I guess coming back to the idea of community and it being about the people as much as, or maybe more than the code. Once I had those connections with Russ and others, I kind of had the confidence a few months down the line to start making contributions to the InnerSource Commons to get uh, the learning materials self-hosted. So we had a load of learning materials, um, but the only way to access them was by looking at the kind of just the raw text in GitHub, or by going through a paywall to O'Reilly. So so I worked on getting the learning materials hosted on the InnerSource Commons website. Um, so that was I think of that as my first proper open source, because it was like I wasn't just I wasn't just writing code for the BBC. I wasn't writing BBC code for the BBC during my day job. And this is where my involvement in open source started to kind of leak out to my outside of work as well. Because the more I got involved with the InnerSource Commons, the more it was like, well, I can't justify all of this as I'm spending too much time here for it to be all in my day job. Um, so yeah,
Sucking you in on your personal time.
yeah. um, and then yeah, after those contributions, I continued to help maintain the learning path and the website, and became a trusted committer, and then got voted onto the board. And now my involvement's more, I guess, on the operational side, helping the board run. Um, I'm not actually involved in any active open source project right now, but that was that was my journey, starting with the conference talk, moving to contributions, and then eventually on to being a board member for the InnerSource Commons.